So I met James Cameron one time, which was huge, name drop clank, but I'll explain the reason why. As an independent filmmaker, you're talking to someone that did Avatar, that did huge movies. He said to me, look, when it comes to storytelling, all you want is a good story told well. People just want a good story and they want you to tell it well. And sometimes you can shoot it on an iPhone and crush it. I mean, things like Tangerine or whatever, My name is Adam Eaton Crow. I'm an independent filmmaker, currently in New Zealand, trying to put together another film. And we've just done a deal for our new scary, well, it's not a scary movie, it's a thriller inspired by Brian De Palma called Warhol.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit of how you started in the industry?
I started off in radio as a writer a million years ago. And from that, I moved into TV, did a few bits and pieces for TV. And I was actually on set one time as the writer. And I'm watching the director mess up something I've written, in my opinion. And I was like, come on, I need to be able to do my own stuff. And I did a bit of photography because I was a journalist for a while. And so on the odd occasion where the photographer never showed up from the newspaper, I would take my own shots. And a few of those got syndicated with the actual story I'd written, and I got a credit as a photographer. So I thought maybe I could try this. And I did a couple of short films. A couple of them did quite well, in so much as that they got into some festivals I didn't think they would. And for me, when you make anything and someone other than your immediate family says you did good, you kind of go, oh, okay, maybe there's more to this, because your friends and your family will go, oh my God, it's amazing. And it could be the worst thing in the world. So I got a couple of badges from some people, things like we got into Bend, Oregon, which for me was huge. We got into Fright Fest, we got into Rain Dance. And so I figured I'd give it a go. And I had a screenplay that was with the studio, 20th Century Fox. We were in development on it. I was lucky enough to get it through the door there after being turned down everywhere. And then the Disney transition or purchase went through, and they basically binned my film. Lucky enough, they gave me the rights back. And I went, okay, got no money, but let's go out and try and tell a story. And that was our first film, Lair. I basically called up everyone who I'd worked with before and said, look, this is what we're trying to do. If you want to pitch in, then we'll see where we go. And we cobbled together a little bit of money between 17 of us. And we shot our first little horror movie, which is called Lair. And lo and behold, we were really, really lucky. Got picked up by Studio Canal, 1091, had limited theatrical release through MGM. And we went, oh, okay, I've actually done okay. We've actually done okay on this. And so I figured I'd keep going until I can't afford to do it anymore. So it's kind of where we are now.
Gotcha. And how did you even start into writing? Like, how did that start? Like, how do you even get your first job in there?
The writing stuff started as a journalist. I listened to a lot of radio. I watched a lot of movies. And so I wanted to go to the Edinburgh Comedy Book Film Festival 100 years ago. And I thought, well, if I can get a job as a journalist, I'll get passes to see some of the comedians. And so I reached out to the East Anglian Daily Times, which is a little newspaper in Ipswich in Suffolk, which is where I was at the time. And they said, we're not going to give you any money, but if you get any stories and we publish them, we'll give you some money and we'll give you a credit. And so I went up and I sort of managed to blag my way into a couple of comedy clubs, and I wrote a couple of pieces about the festival and things like that. And they picked them up. And then they syndicated it through their other newspapers like Cambridge Evening News, which again, little tiny newspapers. And then I got a check for like £20 or something. It was like, nothing. But I was like, wow, I've been paid for writing. And when you get money, no matter what it is, for something you're passionate about, you kind of go, I've just got to push. I've just got to go bigger and better. And next thing I know, a company called Archant Media, which own big newspapers, I'd somehow got on their radar, and they asked me to cover a story in Cambridge with a guy called Griff Rhys-Jones, was doing a talk about his life on a book he's bringing out. He's quite a known UK actor stroke filmmaker. I interviewed him and then Richard E. Grant, and it went on from there. And then I started writing something called the Joke Shop News and Weather for BBC Radio Cambridge at the time, which was just a 5-minute sketch type thing we did on radio. And then from that, I managed to get a few little jobs writing on TV, just submitting a joke here or there, or like Sky TV, I had a joke in a show called Broken Comedy. Baby Cow had a couple of gags that went into Steve Coogan's company. Just little things like that. In the meantime, I was holding down day jobs. But I started my way through it, and I got to a point in the TV world where I was actually paying my rent writing, which was just like, wow, that's insane. And from there, I started to come up with little ideas for movies, things I found fascinating, things that I wasn't really seeing that I thought maybe I could do. And I did a few short films. And one of the short films that I did was Warhol, which is our new film we've got out now. It's a short film. And a guy called James Vernon and Elliot Yancey, we went out to Cannes just to hang out and drink beer and see what it was all about. And James produced Hacksaw Ridge and Evita, and Elliot did a few movies as well. And they'd seen my short film at a festival. And they said, look, we've got a screenplay. Would you be interested in punching it up? And I didn't even know what to charge. I didn't have representation, nothing. But I took the meeting and I went away and I read the screenplay and I was like, this is not a good story told well. It just isn't. And I said, look, I'd like to, because it was inspired by Elliot being a chopper pilot in Afghanistan. And he'd been in a crash, chopper had gone down and he'd hired someone to write a screenplay based on that. And just in my opinion, and again, you know, opinions are like ourselves. We've all got them, right? I could be entirely wrong, but I read it and I'd read a lot of screenplays. I'd downloaded them from the internet to learn how to format and stuff. I was like, this just is a bad story. It just isn't good. It's cliched and schlocky. So I went back and said, this is how I would do it. There's a page 1 rewrite. And about 2 weeks later, he said, okay, what would you charge me to rewrite it? And I had no idea. So I just threw a number out. And he went, yeah, all right. And I went, damn, should have asked for real money. And that was my first actual writing credit. Yeah, it kind of went on from there. And I've been rejected more than I've been accepted, but I've been able to get a few screenplays sort of purchased, a few options, got hired to write a few bits of TV. And it's just like anything, you know, if you've got, I think someone once said to me, they said, you know, when it comes to being part of the film industry, if you can do anything else, do that. Because no one tells you how hard it is. And when you get into this, it's going to be twice as hard as you think it is and takes 5 times as long to get a foot in the door. I mean, I made my first film, a little scary movie anyway, about 4 years ago. I made my first short film probably about 10 years ago. And now I'm in a position where I've got a really good group of people around us. Ditto Films is me, my partner Shelley, who's my producer, working from our kitchen table. And with our first little film, we were able to get great distribution and they ended up in 108 different territories. You know, we get a few checks from it and we're getting away with it. And, you know, and then we did one for Netflix, worked on a project for them. And we've just done this one. So, yeah, and here we are.
The script that you get to 20th Century Fox, how do you kind of get to there? How do you end up getting inside of the studio system?
I was at a film festival and I met this guy out there called, what's his name? Oh my God, escapes me. Anyway, I was at a film festival. I met someone, it was actually from Germany, and he had just done a horror movie out there called Hellstatten, a little horror movie out there. And we got talking and we got on really, really well. And I told him what I was up to. He said it sounded interesting. So he said, let me have a look. You know, that's one thing that people forget about how important networking is. Little film festivals or even big ones, just where I met him was, I think it was Berlin. You meet people and you're at the bar and you're talking to someone. And if you're not aggressive and arrogant, going, hey, I've got this idea, because you also have people like that as well. You just start a conversation and they find interest in you and what you're trying to do. And if they're open to it, they'll invite you to look at it. He liked it. He passed it up the chain. And it went to, at the time, a guy called Thomas Jagaeus, who was the president of Fox International Productions, who's actually Swedish. And I got to meet him. He was just the coolest dude. He was so funny. And he really, really liked it. He goes, cool, we're going to make your movie. And I was like, what? Insane. And he put me in a room with a few people. We started developing it. And we had about sort of 8 months of doing that. We were talking to people like Studio Babelsberg for set builds, where they were doing Inglourious Bastards. And it was just incredible. I was like, oh my God. And you get studio notes back and, you know, and it's the usual kind of stuff. Someone's half read it and they've got an idea where, you know, they want to put in a character that resembles their grandmother. Or they want to move it to, you know, somewhere else. And you sort of roll with it and you go, okay. And it was all looking really, really good. And then the Fox Disney deal went through and they put a load of films in the turnaround. At the time, I assumed that, I mean, I have no idea what the thinking was behind it, but, you know, they dropped it and that was fine. But I got everything back, including all the IP, which was really, really cool of them. So they weren't the evil monster that you think they would be.
Once you get the project back, how much did you end up making the film for? And like, how did you end up raising the capital and how did that film come together?
Well, people always say, don't put your own money into films. And you look at people like the movie Blue Ruin, done by, what's his name, Sonia. You know, he mortgaged his house and he took that money and he put it into making Blue Ruin, which is a fantastic movie for about $450,000. And it worked. But I also know 1,000 other people who put their life savings into little films that go nowhere. So it's a gamble. But to me, I was like, well, if I don't believe in it myself, then why would anyone else? And we had a screenplay that we were lucky enough we'd already had storyboards done by professionals. We'd had coverage done by people in the studio. And it seemed, and we'd even had reports done. And when you get to the point where if it went out, the sort of division between what the studio get and what we get, it was going to happen. So all these people at a certain level seemed to believe in the film. People I didn't know, people who were in LA, all this sort. So I was like, if I'm ever going to take a gamble on some of my own money, it should be this. And my partner, Shelley, who worked in distribution, not in production, came on board, and she said to me, she goes, look, this is stupid. You've got to raise the money to do it. How much do you think you need? And I said, we can do it for maybe 400 grand, 400 grand. It's a horror movie, we needed VFX, we needed all this sort of stuff. And she said, look, I'll help if I can, but I don't want to produce. And I sat down with my cinematographer, who's a friend of mine, a guy called Stuart Nicholas White, who's fantastic. And he was always someone as well who's like, you can't half-ass this. If you're going to do it, do it. So he was like, no. And Shelley said, if you can convince Stuart, then I'll do it. I'll produce it. I was like, okay. So I spoke to Stuart, and I managed to talk to him about how we were going to do this. And he actually turned around and said, look, I'll put some money in. And I was like, cool, I'll put the bulk of the money in, and we'll see what we can raise. So we went out to, other than Stuart and myself, a few other people. We ended up with 17 of us. I think 15 were genuine friends. And, one person put in like $1,000. Another one put in 30. You know what I mean? And we cobbled together, I think it was about 220,000. And we were like, okay, we haven't got quite what we need, but can we do it for this? And the easiest way to get your budget down is to go back to the script, look at your burn rate from your schedule, and work out how many days you can lose of shooting to get the cost down to where you need it to be. So we trimmed it right down and moved most of the locations to one big house, which was an Airbnb in the end. And we decided to just call in favors of people we knew. An example would be a guy called Tristan Vaselis. When I did my first short film, he was our DIT guy. Sat in the corner with a laptop. We made it for no money. And I heard he was doing the VFX. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll reach out to Tris, see if he wants to come and spend a couple of days doing monsters. And he was in Barcelona living there. And he was like, yeah, I can come over and give you like 6 days. I'm like, brilliant. We're going to hide it in the shadows. No one's really going to see it. So he came out, gave us 6 days. We flew him out, stuck him in a cheap Airbnb, stuck him, got my cheap flight. He came on set, worked with a friend of mine, Jojo Davis, who was a makeup artist, who's amazing. And he gave us 5 days, 6 days. And I said to him at the end of that, oh, what are you doing next? He goes, I'm going to America. I was like, oh, cool, another job? He goes, no, I just got nominated for an Oscar. I was like, hello? And he was one of the head VFX guys on 1917, the war film. I had no idea he'd gone that far, Corey Johnson, he's one of those guys who's in everything. He's in The Bourne Ultimatum, The Bourne Supremacy. He's in Hellboy. He's in Morbius. He's that guy. You go, oh, it's that guy all the time, who he had done the short film with us. And I reached out to him and said, dude, I've got no money. You want to come play a villain? And he was like, well, I'm in the UK. I'll come and do it. Because we'd become friends since the short film. So he pitched up. And then we just called in favors for everyone. And we said, look, we have not a big budget, but everybody who works on this, we're going to make sure we pay you something. And so everybody from HODs down to extras and actors got $100 a day. That was it. And we had HODs putting in their own kit, and we made it work. And we reached out for post-production. We basically went to about 6 or 7 different post houses. So we've got this thing in a box. It's a movie. We need help. And everyone was like, no. We found one company in London called The Ark. And we couldn't afford standard rate to get it done. I said, we have this amount of money. Can you help? And they went, yeah, all right. And they agreed, and they helped us put it together. And then Shelley, when she worked in distribution, had a contact, a friend of hers she knew, and she reached out to her and said, we've got this movie. Have a look at it. Tell us what you think. And she goes, I don't do movies under 5 million. What's the budget? She said, you watch the film and you tell us if you think it's up to scratch or not, and then we'll tell you the budget. And we gave it to her, and she watched it. She went, okay, we'll take the film. How much was it? And we said, around about 220 grand. After the post and everything, about 220 grand. She went, shit, okay. And she took it out into the world, and I think she sold to 108 different territories. She was amazing with this tiny movie, which was made out of passion. I mean, everybody on that set was a patriot, not a mercenary. We all knew what we were getting involved in. We all just wanted to tell a good story well, and that was it, But one really big thing I learned on that, I've done, I think, 4 short films. They'd all been enemies and crow movies, because I'd put them together and we made them. And on this one, because of people talk about family filmmakers and on film sets and stuff, on this one, because of the way it came together and how hard everybody worked, and how everybody was so uncompromised when it came to making this. Where at the beginning it goes, a film by Adam Eaton Crow. It doesn't. It's just a film by a family of filmmakers. And all of our films say that now. My name is the last credit on the credit roll. Because while you can have all the dreams in the world being an auteur, unless you're getting coffee, unless you're moving tea stands, unless you're really doing everything, I don't think that's right. You need a single vision, but you also need to be humble enough to learn from the people around you. When I did my short film, I was like, hey, if someone gave me, because it was 20 minutes long, if someone gave me all the money in the world and enough to shoot for 30 days and a budget to do all that, I could make a feature film. And I was humbled when I realized I was shooting 16-hour days, and rather than just 3 or 4 days, I think we shot it in 16 days, our first film, how hard it was and how hard it worked and how much everybody around me brought. I learned from everybody on that set, not just how to make a good cup of coffee, but everybody. I learned about transcodes, I learned about lighting, and I went in there with a little bit of knowledge that I knew, and then trusted the people around me, and they taught me as I went. And I'd turn around and say to them, look, I've got this idea. How do we do it? And Stuart would go, how about this? Or Tom would go, how about this? And it was amazing. It was like the best college course I ever could have had. And I also came out of that with a fever. And we had a real premiere for it in London. But the best and the biggest thing in the world for me was when we made that little movie, and all of us, there's about 20 of us, sat in a room and watched the cast and crew screening. And we're going, oh shit, you have to tea stand there, or there's a coffee cup or whatever. And we all looked at it and went, without everybody in this room, this doesn't exist. And wherever it goes in the world, it's like putting your name in the granite stone of the building you build. Everybody. So everything we do moving forwards, and you look at our last movie, whoa, first thing comes up, a film bite, and then it fades up, family of filmmakers. And we've been lucky enough to be able to take forward onto the other projects. We've done 3 now. Probably about 50-60% of the crew, because some of them are working. Some of them are being paid real money. When we were doing the first one, there were people who were great, and they go, I literally can't do it for that because I've got to pay my bills. I'm like, dude, no drama. We'll ask you on the next one. There is no problem. I totally get it. But we're going to go and do this. And I think that's it. I think if you come from a real place of passion, you can, we're not making a fortune, but, we're keeping the lights on. When you walk onto a Ditto Films film set, there's a big sign, and you'll see it when you go on, and it says, no cell phones, no egos. That's exactly how we do it. And because of that, for 4 years now, we've been able to, put gas in the Toyota. You know what I mean? I'm not driving a Porsche. I'm not in Hollywood, but I'm earning a living. And I work with amazing people that inspire me on a daily basis, bro.
And, obviously most filmmakers I do talk to kind of get screwed a lot of times in distribution. Yep. Obviously have somebody as your partner that kind of worked in distribution. How did that help you? And how do you kind of see distribution changing nowadays?
Well, it's really weird because Shelley worked in theatrical, and of course, COVID hit and all the theaters closed their doors. That was something that was really, really strange. We, with our first film, Shelley had arranged for I think it was 60 different theaters over 10 territories that she could reach out to that were going to take our movie. And we actually finished filming. The last day of film was the day before the lockdown in the UK, which meant all theaters were shut. So if they're not taking Marvel, they're not taking our little movie. And we hadn't even got through post yet. So we had to put a pin in our film for about 1.5 years because we shot in 6K and no one had the bandwidth to really work on it. And so we had to wait. So our film came out probably 2 years after we'd actually made it. And it was just COVID was coming to an end. And by then, 1,000 people have shot great movies at home on their cell phone. And there's all this glut of horror and all the content that had been bought before COVID now suddenly plugged up everything. And so we were like, there's no way we're going to get a tiny film out with, Corey, who's obviously an actor and a really amazing actor and well known as a character actor when you're up against everybody else. So we were going, I don't know what we're going to do. Luckily, our distributor, she was amazing. And she was like, look, we'll take it out there. We'll let them watch it. We'll see how it goes. And she started piecing it together. We couldn't get a global deal. Shelley made some calls to people she knew in the industry and went, look, we just look at it. And a lot of them said no. A lot of them said yes. Because the thing was, when people say, what's the budget? We were going, look, have a look at the film, see what you think, and then tell us whether you're interested. And of course, a lot of those people go, no, how much you spend? Oh, you spent this. Well, we don't want to see it. Because they couldn't imagine that it would be of any kind of caliber because you have a certain idea in your head. It used to be the days of Robert Rodriguez and these amazing people like Tarantino. You make a film for $20 and everyone goes, oh my God, it's amazing. Now no one cares how much you made the film for. They just want to know if it fits what they're looking for and if it's any good. Although, you can watch a lot of movies now and you go, but it isn't good. That's the personal opinion again. So for us, between Shelley making calls and our sales agent sort of making calls, we got some interest. And we went out to Cannes and we tried to pitch it there, just gate crash of people and chatting to them as well and knocking on doors. And we got a little bit of interest. And then our sales agent basically managed to get it into Studio Canal. And once that happened, Studio Canal looked at it. Other people just went, hang on, whoa, okay. So people who were sort of shutting the door and didn't want to see it because the price point went, oh, okay, let's have a look. But what's really important, which I think also helped it as well, and now I'm talking to you about it, kind of makes more sense. And I didn't really put it together until this moment. I'm not the fastest guy in the world. So there's one of our exec producers on the project who was amazing. There's a guy called John Love. He runs a voiceover company in London called Another Tongue. And he represents all these famous people for doing adverts and voiceovers and all that kind of stuff. And he's also a really dear friend. And he was one of the first guys to jump in with a couple of quid to help us out. And so when we cut the trailer, it was cut by my editor, Ben Hoot, who's an incredible filmmaker in his own right, director. We wanted a voiceover. And we were talking to John. And John goes, well, I've got a mate of mine, Mark Strong. He's a really cool guy, lives up the road, whatever. I can always ask him. I was like, we're not going to get Mark Strong to do a voiceover for our movie, right? And he was like, well, I can ask him. And I've always believed that if you don't ask for something, then it's already a no. So why not, right? Just if you want Mark Strong to help out, ask Mark Strong. If you want Brad Pitt in your movie, ask him. You can always say no, but he might say yes. So you got nothing to lose. Although John did the asking, he asked him, and Mark agreed to come down, give us an hour to do a voiceover for the film, for the trailer, for nothing, just to help out because he liked the story. He was great friends with John. He trusted John's judgment, and he came down and he gave us an hour of his time doing the voiceovers and stuff like that. Individual bits and pieces. They're coming soon and all that sort of stuff. And he was the nicest guy in the world. We bought him a big bottle of vodka to say thank you. Or was it gin? One or two. And so we had that on the trailer. And when we started sending out with that, again, that could have been the tipping point now as I think about it. But yeah, 1091 in America picked it up. Studio Canal picked it up. But one of the biggest things that happened for us with that little film was there was a horror film festival happening in Holland. And a friend of Shelley's, who she knew from before in distribution, said, look, I'm not doing distribution anymore, but my friends are doing a scary movie festival. It runs over the weekend. Do you want to put your film Lair? It's called Lair. Do you want to put Lair on it? And I was like, dude, why not? Let's do that. So we put it in, and I think there were 4 scary movies playing. And she put it in, Maud, she was amazing. She put it into this film festival, and we did the same amount of box office as one of the Halloween movies coming to it was over those couple of days in that venue. And she was like, look, it's done really well. The cinema want to roll it out to other ones. This is like 2.5 years after we'd made the film. No one really in it. And it did really well. And then we rolled it out through a friend of mine who's actually a director. And he goes, look, I've got a cinema in Germany. We could put up, I have a friend who runs it. We've got stuff, put it in there. So we're to Germany, then we're to Poland. And next thing you know, we had, I think we did about 150 grand over like 4 territories. This tiny little movie, But people have to understand as well, this is something I find is a misnomer in filmmaking, is people getting paid 150 grand. That's incredible. What you have to remember on that, there were also, and a lot of new filmmakers don't see it when you see the box office, is out of that was also things like cost for DCP, the little bit of advertising that came out of it. But also on top of that, the cinema market's 50%. So, you end up out of 150 grand probably getting 70, 80, because they take their share and all the costs involved. But it was still money we never counted on. And so, yeah, we managed to do that. I mean, even now, I think we're now in the process of doing a deal for a film that's 3.5 hours, 3.5 years old, with China for they've got a new streaming platform, and they're looking at buying the movie to put on the streaming platform. And that's like 20 grand, which goes back to us and all of our friends. And yeah, we start, and so with distribution, I hear all the horror stories, but I think what it comes down to is, number one, if you get into a contract, because we got offered some deals that were just evil, that just made no sense. You need to be able to, number one, have a clause in there that says that you're willing to get out, that you can get out if you want to. If you don't agree with something, talk to them, see where it goes. One of the things that happened with the distribution agreement on our side, which was really great, is Shelley had done this, so she knew the things to look for that could screw up a filmmaker. I would say, never sign a deal for more than 7 years. But then again, it also depends on the reasoning why you want the deal. Some people just want their film out there to show what you can do. If that is the case, and your investors are on board, look at the metrics and go, right, worst case scenario, if I sign this deal, we get paid back in 3 years or 5 years or whatever, according to the contract, if the film does whatever we want it to do. If all your investors are on board with that, then great. If not, You've got to shop around. And it may be a case that you never find what you need. But what I do find is our little model of doing this is if you keep everyone informed, like we set up a camera account on all of our movies. So if you and I make a movie together, even if you're listening to EP, and if £1 comes in, it will pop up and you'll get a statement saying, £1 came in for the movie you made, Guys with Beards, right? And they all can see you're being transparent. And that means that they know if you're doing well, they know if you're not doing well, they know if the film's making money, they know if it's not. And hopefully when you do try and talk to your friends, because that's the worst or the hardest thing, we got our friends to help us and they did, and they're happy and they got the money back and stuff. But for us, it was like, we said, this is a risk. Don't invest anything that you can't walk away from because it could go wrong. The fact that we were putting literally, our rent money on the line when we invested, but it was our film, is how we did it. But I think it's always about transparency. When you go in there and you talk to the people you're making the project with, you surround yourself with people that know more than you that will elevate the project. If someone says, hey, I'll help, you've got to work out what value they bring. And if it is someone who brings value, you've got to be straight with them. And when you talk to investors, like we've been lucky, we've got investors that invested in our first film, that invested in our other films, because we've gone, hey, this is what happened. This is where we are. And so when you look at a distribution contract, as much as the ego wants to go, because I had this situation a while ago, I got offered, we've just done a global distribution deal for our new film, which we can talk about, I think, in about 2 weeks. And there was another deal that came through that was with a bigger company, and it would have looked better on paper, been better for my ego. And I wanted to take it because as a director, I'm going, look what happened. But the deal terms were worse than the one we've got. These were a really good distributor, really fair. But it would have made me look cool, but I couldn't do it because while on this film we've just done, we've only got 3 investors and ourselves again, it wasn't what was right for the film. And so, you've got to just be frank and honest, turn up and tell people if it goes right, if it goes wrong. And what you'll do is you'll engender a degree of loyalty that I think most filmmakers only really achieve anything if they have that. The amount of people that I've been blessed to work with and that I will continue to work with, the things they bring, the value they bring, you sit down with these people, girls, guys, or whatever. It's such a hard slog to make a movie. I'm sure you know this yourself. So when you go out there and you go, look, can you help? And you're up front and you go, right, I can give you this, this, and this. Do you want to do it? No. Cool. When I get more money on the next project, I'll see you then. Cool. And it's important to surround yourself with great people. I also talk too much. Always feel free to shut me up. Sorry, man. I get so excited about what we do. Storytelling. I got to be a famous director one time who's known for like huge 3D stuff. In fact, I'm in New Zealand, so I can say his name, whatever. So I met James Cameron one time, which is huge, name drop, clank, but I'll explain the reason why. As an independent filmmaker, you're talking to someone that did Avatar, that did huge movies. And we were in a whiskey bar in Amsterdam. It was pure blind luck. And of course, I'm fanboying all over the places you do, or fan manning all over the places you do. And he said to me, look, when it comes to storytelling, all you want is a good story told well. Sometimes it's 3D, sometimes it's black and white, it's a musical, it's made with sock puppets, it's animation. People just want a good story and they want you to tell it well. And sometimes you can shoot it on an iPhone and crush it. I mean, things like Tangerine or whatever, or Insane or Unsane, which was the thing he did. But just tell people a good story and tell us the best of your ability and you'll find an audience. I always believed in that. And this is from someone who just did $1 billion box office. Go and just get a good story. And if you can excite the people around you, I mean, oh my God. So on a film we just did, it's a homage to Brian De Palma and Warhol. It's called Warhol. And it's about a DJ and he's an American shock jock, comes to the UK, and he's been brought over to save a dying radio station because it's all podcasts and making all the money and stuff. And they don't realize they've got this sort of firebrand guy, Howard Stern type dude, who just says what's on his mind. And of course, people phone up and everything goes crazy. And my sound guy, a guy called Aris, who's amazing, I was talking to him and I said, I want to give it that 80s De Palma vibe. I want it to, because it's got a few comparisons in so much as that if you ever saw Blowout, which was the touchstone for this, John Travolta plays a sound guy for movies who goes out and records set audio for a horror film. And in ours, we've got a DJ who's got a call out and he overhears something that maybe he shouldn't or whatever. So those parallels there. We wanted to give it the look and feel of an 80s movie. And so Aris was like, okay, well, what we'll do, and we filmed in, because we had not a lot of money on this one either, and no money on this one as well. So we found an old recording studio that bands use, and we just basically egg-boxed the walls and made it look more like a radio station. Our production designer, Daniel Dre, was incredible. That's something as well. Daniel Dre, we told him what we were doing. He pitched in, again, low budget. He did Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. But we asked him, and he went, yeah, I'm free. If you can do it between here and here, I'll help. It's amazing, right? And he did an incredible job. And Aris was like, why don't we get an old 1980s microphone for the hero might be talks into? We'll run it through an old valve amplifier and record it digitally. And we're like, dude, that's so cool. And so it'd give it that sort of timbre of an old radio show. So we did that. And then it went from there. That was the genesis of the idea. Next thing we know, we've got our composer, a guy called Michele Maslin, who's out in Florence. So again, worked on my friend Ben Hooton, who's a director, worked on his short film, who's amazing. And he said, talk to this guy. And I said, hey, Michele, I understand you do movie scores. We haven't got much money. What do you want to do? I pitched him. He went, yeah, great. He made this incredible from scratch score, which he then sent to a friend who was in Nashville, who ran it through old tape machines to give it that feel, right? So that happened then. And then we, from there, we were like, okay, where do we go? What do we do? How do we do this? Let's lean into this analog kind of vibe. So we started pushing it even more as best we could. And we ended up with sort of this sound thing. And I was like, okay, so someone's going to phone up the radio station, and in the background, there's going to be an attack or something's going to happen. And we want to know more about it. So I was like, we're in a recording studio where they record music. There's a studio next door, which is Soundbooth. Why don't we do this? So I decided that what I would do is Corey Johnson, who plays the DJ, because it's a really powerful sort of section of the movie. We're not going to let him hear what we're going to do. We're actually going to film the attack and all the thing he hears off camera. And then we're just going to pipe it into him as it happens live, like you do a radio show with live Foley. We brought in an old door to smash, glass to smash. We had a couple of people playing the coppers. We had, a punch bag in there. So when the fight happens, you could hear it, all this kind of stuff. And we actually recorded it live with live Foley, which as far as I know has never been done before, and broadcasted it as it happened into the DJ booth. So Corey heard it for the first time live as we were recording. And his reaction there, I'm not going to give anything away, but was insane. And he reacted in the moment because he's an incredible actor. To the point where, I don't think I'm giving too much away, but he ended up smashing up part of the set, which we had to rebuild because his reaction was so visceral, because it caught him off guard in such a powerful way. We had to keep it in the film. The guy who was playing, who was involved, one of the guys got a nosebleed. It was in the recording booth. It was in the Foley section, because he was so amped up in what he was doing. Incredible actor called Max McIntosh. He was in Elton John, Rocket Man. Again, friend of a friend. Dude, you got a couple of days off. Well, come and help. His performance is amazing, to the point where he got so into the character and he was started getting so visceral and created a nosebleed. We've got all this in the behind the scenes. You can actually see how we all did it and everything like that. I'll fire it over to you if you want to check it out. But the point I was trying to make is that, again, even 3 films in, we're still putting it together as best we can. We've just done, Warhol, people watched the film we did, and we did it for under 200 grand. That includes post-production. It includes everything. It includes trips to festivals, and we just went out to Cinecrest, we've won Best Picture at Paris International Film Festival. We got nominated Best Feature at Raindance this year, got nominated Best Feature at South London Film Festival. We won Best Picture at the 35th Girona Film Festival. And all this came from like-minded people going, let's just go tell a fucking cool story, man. Let's just lean in. I get excited about this.
My last question is, what advice would you give to like a new filmmaker starting out that has, say, $50,000 to $100,000 to make his first film?
I would say if they're going to make the first film, get a good script, get people around you that can that understand your vision, and do it in the right way. Just go, look, this is what we're doing. If everybody's on board, and there's something I always found when I was talking to people, even because a lot of the time you assume that people understand what you're trying to say. I will say the dumbest thing. So if you and I are making a movie and I'll go, right, okay, I'm going to say this out loud so it's been said, so later on there's no confusion. Because you assume sometimes that people understand how a back end works, or they understand that we're just going to shoot it when we can. They understand that everyone's going to try and do something, but you need to vocalize it. So it has been said. So later on when someone goes, hey, you said we would only be shooting 5 days, we're shooting 7 days, and you go, dude, this is what I said. And then everyone knows what page they're on. I would shoot on an iPhone and I'd do something daylight. The big downside, because obviously now you can shoot ProRes on your phone. The camera on this is incredible. You can stick a movement lens on it, bang it on a gimbal or an old fig rig and go out and tell a story. But the only downside is it's not great at low light. But you can grab that, grade it, color it, and do something amazing with that. It doesn't cost much. If you've got 2 iPhones, you've now got 2 cameras. I bought I've got a little kit I drag around wherever I go because I get inspired. And I bought, I forgot the name of it, but I bought a little handheld sound recording device. It's got a 32-bit float on it. So when it comes to the quality of the sound, it's good enough. It's good enough. So I would say if you've got 50 grand or something, then find practical locations, get people on board. Do not hire your friends because they're your friends and you feel bad. I've done that before. You need people to understand that if they are really your friend and you say, I can't put you on movie because you're not right for the role or whatever, then they need to accept that. And if they're your friend, they will. I had a situation where I had a friend of mine who wanted to read for a role and I'll let anybody read because they're a friend of mine in the film we just did, and he had to be American. And in my opinion, and I could have been wrong, his American accent wasn't good enough. And so I couldn't give it to him. It was the hardest call I've ever had to make. He's 20 years old, 20 years we've been friends, and he's a great actor, but he just couldn't nail it and he had no time. And we were doing because we shot our last film, Warhol, we shot it in 10 days. And just to recap, we had 2.6 million to do Warhol, and then the war in Ukraine happened, all the money went away, and we had a 29-day shooting schedule, right? And so we looked at it, and we were shooting just before Christmas last year, and we had friends of ours who were HODs who were going to come in and be paid really well to do what they needed to do, and we're going to have a full crew. And when all the money went away, we realized that those people now wouldn't be able to replace the work because they'd been booked in, and so they couldn't suddenly go out and get on a job. So we sat down and we went, right, we're literally going to lose things like third ACs and third sound. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and shoot this in 10 days, right? No fluff. We had catering. On day 2 of our catering, we paid up front for our catering. And on day 2, the husband of the woman who was our caterer died. And we paid up front to get a cheaper, right? So we lost all the money. So we now had to scramble around and order in Nando's and stuff like that. We did the same deal with our post-production company. Our post-production company in London gave us a really great deal. We paid up front. We paid most of it up front, and then we paid the balance. And then they went under, and they kept our footage. And so luckily, another company that weren't as cheap, The Arc, who had done our first couple of movies with us, who were amazing. We only switched to the new post-production house because we just didn't have the money because we'd lost all the money. And they said, we'll do it cheaper. And knowing they were going out of business. So The Arc literally went in, collected all our footage, went back, did all our post for like pennies on the pound to save us. So this is my point. These people, when you go, if you're honest and go, we have just lost everything. We can't finish post. And we were coming up to, we'd just been accepted to Rain Dance. And we had 20 days to get in the footage and had our P9 done or anything. And they literally went, we'll get it done for you. And they did it for pennies on the pound, bro. I'm not even joking. And they did such a good job. That's how we cobbled together that film. So a film from 2.6 million, we shot it for about 160 grand. We're still running around doing bits and pieces. We just got into London Independent Film Festival there as well. And we're winning awards up the Yazoo. We've done a global distribution deal on a film that had 2.6 million, 29 days. We shot it in 10 days for about 160 grand. And we've landed global distribution that will make us whole and put us forward. So, if you are a filmmaker, really make sure your screenplay is bulletproof. Cut it down to the nub. Keep your locations small. Shoot as much as you can in bright daylight if you've got an iPhone. Or grab something like, grab a Sony. There are so many good cameras out here that shoot in low light. And what I would say as well is, if you've got kit you can't really afford, one trick we learned was buy the kit on eBay, use it to shoot your film, and then sell it on eBay. So if you're paying, $5,000 for sound equipment, you could probably buy that second-hand on eBay, which is what we did, for $4,000. Same cost as you would have paid it anyway. But then we go back and we resold it for, I think we got 3,200 for it. So our whole sound package cost us 600 quid. We got the money back. Cheaper than renting, So you've just got to do these hacks. But again, I would say, be honest, have a great story, and call in people who can bring value. And if your best friend wants to be the lead actor, let him audition. And if he's good enough, give him the role. And if he's not, then don't. But I would also say the biggest thing is if you can find any actor that has any kind of recognition from anywhere, even for a day or two. On Lair, this is something which, I'm sorry I'm talking so much. On Lair, Corey was best friends with Oded Fair, who's obviously in the original The Mummy, and he's in some TV stuff. He was a mate of Corey Johnson's, right? I didn't know Oded. Corey said, look, we need you for 2 days. No, 1 day, it's a prison scene. And he was in Canada shooting the new Star Trek, right? We said, dude, we can fly you out, coach. No, we didn't. We did actually spring for a business class ticket, and we can pay you $100 a day. He's only shooting for 1 day. And Corey said, you can stay on my sofa. He got on a plane in his break for Star Trek, flew from Canada, did our movie, got drunk with Corey, got back on a plane and went back again. I mean, how cool is that?